It's 11:01. We're going to move to the next slide. My name's Kacey O'Maley. I'm an STS at Upland Terrace, and I've sort of been facilitating our GSD Tech Meet the past couple of weeks. And we have some people on the back end that are helping from the Ed Tech department. So thank you if you're here helping on that side. And also, this is really like a collaborative effort from all of you guys that are joining and giving us feedback. And also the ideas that we're going to share today are coming from teachers and coaches and schools across the district that we've reached out to try to pull together all of our ideas as kind of like collective knowledge. So we have a live archive of our meeting. We are recording this conversation now, and it will get published to the Granite EdTech website on our blog. But there's also a hyperdoc, which is a Google Doc that we're taking notes in, and any resources or tutorials that are referenced during our conversation or questions that come up, we'll be putting links to resources that might help you. So somebody from my team will pop that into the chat and you can click on that. And our goal for that is just, we want to be doing that back end work for you so that you can feel really engaged and focused in our conversation today. All right, so our goals for today is just to connect, share ideas, learn something new from each other. And then there's a question at the end where we're going to kind of problem solve. If anybody has questions or ideas that they're trying to work out, we're going to help each other figure out some ways that we can celebrate students virtually or digitally. So we're going to have some teachers and STSs and LMET share today what they're doing at their schools to celebrate students and provide closure. We'll have some time for after each person shares. If you have any specific questions for that person, you can feel free to drop a question into the chat area or unmute your mic and ask them directly. And then we have 3 discussion questions at the end. And then I'll be asking for your feedback on a Google form. Typically, our meetings have been 30 minutes, but we might push that to 45 if we need that time. But feel free to leave whenever you need to. If we hit that 30-minute mark and we keep going, feel free to leave if you need to. So our norms for today, this is a collaborative space. It's positive. We're here to share and support each other. So we want to hear your voices. You can share in the chat area or unmute yourself and share. And our focus today is kind of sharing some ideas about celebrating our students, celebrating the work that we've done the past year, but specifically this last month and a half, obviously, has been a lot of work for us and for our students. So celebrating and also providing closure for our students. So there is an article that I read from the Teach Better the Lines. I think I have a typo there, but it's a blog post. And some of the ideas I just listed out of ways that we can celebrate students. So we're going to kind of dig into more examples of what this would look like specifically with our other teachers that share today. And the thing that I keep thinking about with this is what are traditions or typical activities that we have at the end of the year that our students look forward to, and how can we kind of adjust those activities to meet the same needs that we usually are doing by providing closure or celebrating, and what is that going to look like? Is it digital? Is it not digital? Is it something that's happening at the school level or a grade level team, or is it just happening in your classroom on Canvas or Google Classroom? So that's sort of some of the ideas, but we're going to get into more specifics with teachers that are sharing today. So I sent out an email to our ed tech team asking our STSs and LMETs to share anything that's happening at their school that sort of falls into the category of celebrations and end of year activities. So Sarah Eyring from the GTI said that typically her school has an end of year slideshow celebrating students' photos from the entire year. And this year they're going to do that digitally. So we've listed in our hyperdoc and on this slideshow a couple of tools that could be useful for this. So that's one idea. If you're interested in making a slideshow or a video montage of your students this year, you could kind of dig into some of these tutorials. Next, I'm going to invite Becca and Becky West from Sandberg. They're a coaching team, an STS and instructional coach, and they've been working with their leadership team to help create digital yearbooks for their students.
Hey, so yeah, this is Becca. I'm going to let Becky kind of explain what it is, and then I can give you guys the tech aspect of what we've done. So go ahead, Becky.
So one of the things that we've done is it's kind of an end of the year slideshow, but we have a little bit different circumstance this year because our school is also closing. So we want to celebrate the school and the students, and we had a lot of fun things planned. So we're kind of trying to figure out how we can mesh that into a yearbook / slideshow. So what we did was we're having each child make their one slide, which has helped with kind of taking a little bit of that off the teachers. So the teachers have sent out one Google slide. The kids are designing that slide based on their grade level. So obviously the kindergarten's a lot more structured than 6th grade. Some of the teachers are sending out some sort of template. Others are just kind of letting the students make it on their own with some stipulations. So I know people are trying to have them include a picture or their name or their favorite memory from the year, or their favorite memory from all their time at Sandberg, different things like that. And then we're collaborating to make that into one large slideshow that's viewable to the community.
Yeah, so I was just going to share a little bit of the how-to on that. I'm just going to present my screen. Hang on. Okay, so we did make a video for teachers, and I think Kacey, you included that in the hyperdoc, correct?
Yes, they did. The tutorial.
Okay, so if you guys want to find that, you can. It's 8 minutes, but it kind of takes it from the start to the finish. And we really just use the Google Share Drive to, put the master templates in here, and then teachers are pushing out the individual slides into Google Classroom for the kids to create their individual slide. And I know that not every kid is tuning in for digital learning, but we also thought, we could just make one, at least with that child's name and picture, so that everybody is represented. So that's kind of what we're doing for the end of year, yearbook / slideshow, and all the teachers are involved in that. And then I told Kacey a little bit about our other thing that we're doing. Becky, do you want to talk about the talent show?
Yeah, we've also decided to do a talent show. Usually we do something like that at the end of the year. So what we've done is we've created that in Flipgrid. We want to make sure that the kids have a chance to showcase talent. One thing that we've done was we made sure that we gave them enough time so that they're able to make a do what they would like. So if we know some of our kids can play the piano really well. So we wanted to make sure we give them time to be able to showcase that talent. And I think Flipgrid's a good way because you don't have to watch everyone's, you can watch a little bit of them. And the whole school will be able to view everyone's talent, but they're also separated by grade level, which is nice. So you can kind of just zoom in on the 1st grade if you want, or other grade levels.
And just to add to that, some of the tech aspect of that is we did decide to, as you can see, we have one for each grade level, which we will make available to families later. But we also made it moderated on Flipgrid. So if you moderate it, kids are adding to the slides, but they can't see each other's. So the staff, the teachers will approve those as they come in. And then at the end of the deadline, it will no longer be moderated, will freeze the Flipgrid, so nobody can continue to add Flipgrid responses, but the kids will be able to see each other's talents that have been approved by the teacher. So that's kind of how we're doing it, with still kind of filtering it to make sure everything that comes through is appropriate, but enjoying each other's talents. And we're encouraging teachers to put theirs in too.
And I think the one thing that's been really great is that it's been kind of a whole school effort, not just like one person trying to create this entire slideshow. We've made it so that every teacher has some ownership in the slideshow and the talent show, and you know, kind of made it a school-wide effort, and everybody's doing some amazing things.
I really like. 1 minute. If you're not muted, let's have you mute, or I can go in and mute you. All right. One thing, thank you guys so much for sharing that. One thing that I really like about that is there's student choice, all right? Like you were saying, Becky, that students can participate if they want to. You're like bringing in all of the teachers to have a voice in it as well. If you have questions, when it comes to Flipgrid, there are a lot of settings. So I think it's great that you guys are having teachers moderate the videos that are being submitted, that you're going to freeze the Flipgrids at the end of that period. That way kids aren't continuing to submit things over the summer. If you're a part of this tech meet right now and you want to know how to change those settings, in the hyperdoc that we shared out in the chat, we'll add some tutorials and some additional links on how to you know, create a Flipgrid assignment and then how to change those settings, because you might be wondering about that. Before we move on, does anybody else have additional questions for the Sandberg team? If you do, you can unmute or you can throw it into the chat area. I think, one moment, I can't see those questions. All right, Penny, can you reshare that link? Yes, somebody from my department will put that link in for you. And then Katie, do parents have to approve their student choice to video themselves? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. Does Becky and Becca, how are you guys going about with Flipgrid?
Well, right now we do have the links to those Flipgrids as Granite, only people in Granite can view. So we'll keep that as only people in Granite can view. So the kid would have to log in through their Granite ID, I guess, to be able to access those videos and that Flipgrid.
And also on their registration card, we have the list of students that are not able to be in like videos and things. And we don't have any students at our school that have selected that they don't want to be a part of that. So that's one thing also.
Perfect, thank you. And I think that's a great question, Katie, that you're like, as we're using these digital tools, or as we're asking students to submit videos on Flipgrid, to be thinking about that, like what are our share settings? And a great way to keep students safe and when we're using Flipgrid is to make sure that you have that setting that only domains like or users with an @GraniteSD account can log in. So I think that's a great start, and then also making sure that you're using digital tools that have been approved or shared to you through, you know, the Ed Tech department or your STS or LMETs, because we make sure that that those tools are good for our students to use. Diane asked, when you create the PowerPoint, do you share that with all of your students in your grade level?
So we are going to make all the grade level Google Slides presentations available to all the families at the school, so they can look outside their grade level as well. So just similar to the talent show, we'll just send out a Google Doc where they can click on the individual slides from whichever grade level they'd like.
Perfect, thanks. And then Crystal, thank you for mentioning that and reminding me. There is a permission slip at the beginning of the year that when that parents fill out that might answer some of these questions. And I think that it's smart, like Becky said, to be paying attention to any students that have opted out. So your secretary or the principal in your school, or you as a homeroom, you know, teacher could know that already. So to be paying attention to that. All right, we're going to move on to our next STS. Joelle Wilkins, who is an STS at Farnsworth and Woodstock, has a ton of awesome ideas to share with you guys. So Joelle, I just sort of listed out some of the stuff that we talked about, but take it away. And I will stop sharing.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. What I did is I sent out a request to my teachers just for ideas on a Google Jamboard, but the Jamboard was a little bit hard to see, so I put those ideas into a slideshow. Am I presenting? Not yet.
Not yet. And just so that everybody knows, that slideshow that Joelle is about to share with you is also linked in the HyperDoc that we've shared out a couple of times.
Okay, I think I'm presenting now. Okay. So these are some end of the year ideas. They're not all my ideas. A lot of them came from my professional learning network, and I don't remember where I read the ideas, so I can't really give people credit, unfortunately. We teachers steal a lot, right? So the first thing is end of year awards. A lot of getting an award is usually that recognition in front of a crowd. So to distribute those at the end of the year, instead of just putting them in their bags, you could do a Google Meet or a Screencastify or do some kind of a video recognition of those people with their awards. Then the second one is just kind of some fun things. Goose Chase EDU is a scavenger hunt app and a game, and you can have the kids find certain things and take pictures of them. Also a dance party on Google Meet. You can do that at a class or a grade or a school level and just have everybody come in, put some tunes on, and dance away. By the way, you can now use the share to a tab, so you can play like a YouTube video or something, and the sound will hopefully work for that. Next one is some end of year reflections. Usually I like to have the kids kind of think backward and maybe a little bit forward. So the first thing is have students write letters. They can make Google Slides or videos introducing themselves to their new teacher for next year. And I made a Flipgrid topic for this, and I sent it to be part of the, I'm going to just switch over to Flipgrid. So on Flipgrid, there is this disco library, and you can submit things to the disco library. What that is a bunch of topics that teachers have made, or even some companies like Wonderopolis, and they have just put those topics in, and anybody can reuse them. So since mine hasn't made it in there, I could always just go in here and search topics and type end of year or any idea like that, and it will bring up some topics that are already done. So if I wanted to use this end of year advice, I could click on it. I could come up here and select a grid that I want to put it in, click add, and once I do that, I get all of the normal things you do for Flipgrid to go ahead and add it. I can change the topic up here a little bit. If I want to add my own video at the beginning with instructions, I can do that, and it just works like that. So heading back over here, sorry, I went to the wrong screen. The second one is advice for next year's students. So the kids would write advice for the students who will be in that your teacher's class next year or your grade next year. What will make the student successful in your grade level? Those are, I've seen the kids do this where they've just written them on paper, and they're really cute and fun to read. So you could just have them do that digitally in a Google Doc or a Google Slide, or you could also make a Flipgrid topic for that. The third one is having video messages on Flipgrid. You could create a grid with a topic for each student in your class, and then those students make videos about each other with favorite memories. It might be a good idea, depending on how well you trust your class, you might want to put that one on moderate. Oops, sorry about that. And just check to make sure that they're saying appropriate things before you let them see it. And then the last thing is on the reflection is creating a scrapbook using Google Slides. So if you click on this, it'll open up a make a copy, and it just opens up to this end of the year scrapbook thing I made. I put some directions over here on the right. You can change those as you want. I just went through and made some little activities that they can do with the instructions over on the right. I did not repeat instructions a lot, and this is something you could just take and use and change as you want. You are free to use them. So it just has ways for the kids to reflect on things, and I got the slides from Slides Mania, so there's the information on that. And let's see, what else have I got here? I teach at Woodstock Elementary, and our 3rd grade does a really cool thing every year called the Expert in Me. And usually they have the kids do it live in class, where each kid teaches something that they're an expert at to the rest of their class. So this year they're trying to do it on Flipgrid. So it's kind of a fun little chance for kids to show off something that they know, and they get a chance at being an expert at something and teaching too. They have a whole new appreciation for teachers after they try this. All right, and the last thing I have is for Field Day. Then there's a National Field Day website, which has a lot of really fun, easy games that require very little things and things that they can find at home. So if you click on that, you can go there and get some great ideas. I had a teacher at Woodstock that took this and went with it, and she made a cute little video and got things ready to go for her students, and they're going to do it over a few days, so they're not doing it all on one day. But that's going to look really great, and the kids will enjoy having something to do besides sitting in front of a screen. And then you could also have your students plan their own field day, so they come up with their own games, and they can create the description, rules, and criteria for who wins, and then have them try out each other's games. So that's all I've got. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Joelle. That was awesome. I just want to give you guys, that was a ton, so many great ideas. There are links in the HyperDoc for what Joelle shared. And I just want to give you guys a minute. If you have any questions specifically for Joelle, you can unmute yourself or you can add them into the chat area. All right, it looks like we're all set on that. Thank you, Joelle.
Thank you.
Our next STS who will be sharing is Sherry Harris, who's at Wilson. And she's going to be sharing on how her school is doing a virtual clap out, and then how they'll be live streaming that for students and community members.
Okay, hi. So we are traditionally have a clap out for our 6th graders at the last day of school, which obviously we can't do. And this year we also have our 5th graders that are leaving us and going on to junior high. So we decided to come up with a way of doing it virtually, and I've been playing with this. And what's a clap out? All right, a clap out is just to applaud the kids who are leaving. And we line the hallways. Normally we would line the hallways with every student in the school and teacher, and they clap as we play music through the loudspeakers, and the 6th graders leave and give high fives and all of that as they walk out the door. And then we have our final flag lowering kind of thing. And it's really kind of a nice tradition. So we wanted to come up with some way of doing something like that. And what we decided to do was to have a grade level meet. We're going to do this twice. We're going to do it once for 5th grade and once for 6th grade. And I'm going to basically be joining the meet. I'm not going to be live streaming it. We tried to do that, but I think that possibly we don't have the right settings in Granite yet that allows it. But anyways, I am going to hold the Chromebook in the reverse, because you also can't. I tried switching the camera and that doesn't work. So I'm just going to kind of hold it in front of me and walk through videotaping. All the teachers are going to be lining the hallways and holding signs and, you know, clapping and that kind of thing. And then I'm also going to be playing music, either a mix of some sort that we usually play if I can figure out how to kind of get it, or just Pomp and Circumstance. And what I discovered was that if I have that music playing, then I am always the presenter, which means that I am the large one in the middle that the kids will be seeing. So it won't be me, obviously, but it'll be what my camera is showing, which is all the teachers. So that was working pretty well. I tried it with one person yesterday, and we're going to try it with a few more tonight to make sure that that works the way we want it to. And that's about it. Just simple, but it'll kind of give us the closure. I think we may follow out to the lowering of the flag again and do that. And that'll be our goodbye to our students. Well, we were going to do it on the last day of school, but since our students are turning in their Chromebooks on Monday and Tuesday, we have to do it this Friday. So that's what's happening at our school.
Thank you, Sherry. I like that. And I think I got it wrong when I typed in live stream, but like you're saying, there's a couple of different digital tools that we can do this with. We can use Google Meet. If you're familiar with YouTube Live or Facebook Live, you could do it that way. And then a whole nother way is if you're not comfortable or you don't want the stress of trying to do it as a live streaming it, you could also just take videos of your teachers saying goodbye, waving, clapping, whatever that is, and then publish that video and share that out to your community. So it's sort of like some of these ideas, there's multiple different ways to do it. Again, there are links and tutorials, but I think with stuff like this, sometimes it's nice to be, if you want to try out one of these ideas, to be doing it with a group of teachers so you can troubleshoot together, because like Sherry's saying, you kind of have to figure it out and work through some of those glitches. But at the end of the day, I think it's our students and communities and families are really going to appreciate that, those things that we're providing for them. So thank you for sharing, Sherry.
You're welcome.
All right. I'm just going to quickly share a couple of ideas that were emailed to me from teachers at my school and a couple of other STS and LMITs from the Ed Tech department. So some of these are digital and some of these are non-digital ideas. Kristy Baxter at Upland Terrace, she teaches 2nd grade. She's planning on having a virtual lunch bunch with her students. So they get onto Google Meet, they eat lunch together. It's a social time for the kids. And her last lunch bunch is when she'll say final goodbyes. She'll give each student a turn to share and have a voice in that meeting. And then she's going to share out and give little superlatives and student awards to the kids. And I would say the best digital tool to use for that is whatever your students have already been using, what they're comfortable with. For her, that's Google Meet. Misty Butterfield at Beehive, her school, kind of similar to what Sherry was just sharing. They're having a reverse parade where the teachers and staff are going to line up outside of the school, and then students can walk or drive by as long as they're socially distanced. And I don't know if Misty's planning on live streaming this, but they're having a reverse parade, so that could be an idea. Jen Brewer from Upland, she's sending home activities and packets with students, and she's sending them with, like, she has some little gifts that she's attaching with the kids, like bubbles or little coloring books. And then I found this idea on Twitter. So Stacy Tanner is, I hope she's happy that I'm sharing this. I didn't have time to check in with her, but she was publishing a lot of this on Twitter. She's at Hillside, and she's been working diligently on Donors Choose projects for her classroom, but also publicizing out other teachers who have Donors Choose projects. And she's sending students home with some summer learning activities and staycation packets and games. And that's sort of some closure and also some like extended fun activities into the summer for her students. So, perfect. I'm just checking back into our chat. Chris Larson, the Ed Tech director, also is sharing that there are some schools who live stream their morning announcements. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to him. So it is 11:30. If your time is up and you have to leave, we understand, but we still have about 3 more discussion questions. So if you can stick around, we'd love to have you stay. So if you haven't been in a GSD Tech Meet with us in the past, I have questions that are labeled question 1, question 2. And then when you answer, so that we know what answer what question you're responding to, when you type into the chat, you'll just label it A1 or A2. So our first question is, how are you celebrating students and or providing closure at the end of the year. We've shared out ideas that we've collected across the district, but we'd love to hear what you guys are doing. This could be in your classroom, it could be as a grade level team or school-wide. So if there's something maybe we haven't shared and you think would be helpful for us, we'd love to hear what you guys are doing. I'm going to give you guys some time to comment in the chat area, or feel free to unmute yourself. Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal says she's providing teachers with the digital memory book and Google Slides that they can use with their students. Erin, I think she's out at West Kern still, says she's giving digital award certificates and Google Slides, and then she's presenting those ideas in Google Meet as a digital memory book. That's awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. Got to move on to question 2. And so this is sort of, I referenced this earlier, this is sort of a brainstorming, us all working together. So what is an end of year activity or tradition that you typically host that you haven't, well, 2 questions. How have you adjusted that to make it work with distance learning this year? So that's sort of connected to the last question we just had. But also, if you have ideas in your head of activities that you want to do, but you haven't figured out how to do that digitally, we'd love you to post what you're thinking about, and maybe, you know, we have 63 educators in here. I'm sure we can brainstorm a way to get some of those ideas working in the last week of school for you. I think for me, one thing that keeps coming to my head is like a typical tradition we have at the end of the year is retirements. And I've seen like a lot of schools and principals and teachers and coworkers trying to figure out creative ways to celebrate and the end of a career for people. So I've seen some ideas have been using Flipgrid to record messages from the community and teachers and students to those retiring teachers, or getting on a Google Meet to have like a party and a get together for those people. Courtney Wright shared that her students are doing class compliments on a spreadsheet, and then she's going to make a word cloud for them. That's awesome. I love it. I love that they're sharing compliments for each other, and like that they're kind of making those superlatives and positive messages. All right, so this is my favorite question. How are you planning on giving yourself closure and celebrating your successes at the end of this year? We've all worked so hard, and I think right now we're so focused on our students, but I think at the end of this year, it's going to be a little bit, I don't know, it's been a long year. So I'd love to hear how you guys are giving yourself that positive praise that you deserve. I hope that you're hearing it from teachers around you, but what is your closure? And this is our last question. Yay, Erin, buying new shoes. I'm definitely going to spend celebrating the end of this year just doing some special things for myself, like shopping or taking a time to relax, because I think we've all been working really hard. And then I missed some comments. Leandra shared that they're doing an ABC end of year countdown with fun activities, and they're using Flipgrids and Google Meet. That's awesome. All right, friends, that is my last question for today. Barbara says that she is taking a digital break. I agree. It is definitely well-deserved and needed to take some time away from our screens and some time away from worrying about our students. Cindy, there will be a recording of this posted on the HyperDoc that we've shared out. So once we finish the recording and once that recording renders, I'll add this link in there so you can reference back to it. You are welcome, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to stick around if you have additional questions. You can unmute, or that's all we have for you. The last thing is, if you want to give us any feedback, somebody from my team will put this link into the chat area. We'd love to have feedback on how this went for you. You're welcome, Linda. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jenny. The survey and feedback form is in the links. You can click on that, and there's about 3 questions for feedback if you want to give us any. You're welcome, Ann. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome, Lisa. Thanks for joining. You're welcome, Roger. Thanks for joining. You're welcome, Jason. So we are wrapping up. If you have any additional questions, you can unmute. Otherwise, you can X out, and I'll be ending the meet shortly. It seems like we don't have any more questions, so I'm going to end it for all of us. Have a good afternoon, or yes, good morning. You're welcome, Barbara.